It is now 7 p.m. As I proceed to call this meeting to order of the Fairburn City Council, I want to call your attention to our City of Civility pledge, which is to my right and to your left. This resolution was approved by the governing body on February 9th, 2026. With this resolution, we affirm a simple truth: how we treat each other matters. As a council, we may disagree, but we will do so with respect, professionalism, and a commitment to transparent communication. Our residents deserve leaders who listen, who welcome diverse viewpoints, and who create a space where every voice can be heard without hostility. This resolution is our promise to you, the citizens of Fairburn, that we choose unity over division, respect over conflict. Civility isn't just expected. It is the standard we are setting for Fairburn moving forward. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
The Honorable Anatavia M. Benson.
Present.
The Honorable Linda J. Davis.
Present.
The Honorable Fannie Mae Hauser.
Present.
The Honorable Shanita Nichols.
Present.
The Honorable Samuel Perry.
Present.
And the Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Ulysses J. Smallwood.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Invocation by Pastor William O'Neill of Living Word Church Ministries.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor.
Please stand if you're able.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's bow for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you and we praise you, God, for giving us this opportunity to come together as the citizens of Fairburn, Georgia. God, we pray that your presence will be with us on this night, God. Lord, we pray right now that every decision that is made in this building on tonight, God, will be made in the best interest of the city, its citizens, and business leaders. God, we thank you and we praise you, God, for just allowing us to come together. God, we pray for peace in this place and that you will guide each and every decision by your will. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, next item.
The next item is going to be presentations and proclamations. The first is going to be a proclamation for Living Word Church Ministries by the mayor.
Thank you. Council, if you might join me, please. Pastor O'Neill, First Lady O'Neill. It is with great honor that I read this proclamation on behalf of myself, the 6 members of council, and the residents of Fairburn. Whereas Living Word Church Ministries was founded in 2008 after Pastor William O'Neill received the vision to establish a ministry dedicated to teaching and living according to the principles found in God's Word. And whereas the ministry held its first worship service on March 1st, 2009 in Fairburn, Georgia, and quickly grew into a vibrant congregation committed to faith, service, community outreach, and whereas over the years the church faithfully served its congregation and community while worshiping in several locations throughout the region, it as it worked toward establishing a permanent place of worship. And whereas through the dedication, perseverance, and faith of its leadership, congregation, and community partners, Living Word Church Ministries secured land and completed constructions of its church facility, culminating in the opening of its mortgage-free worship center and the dedication of its sanctuary in 2026. And whereas under the leadership of pastors William and Bridget O'Neill, senior leaders of Living Word Church Ministries continue to strengthen families, provide spiritual guidance, and offer numerous ministries that serve youth, adults, and the surrounding community. And whereas the congregation of Living Word Church Ministry remains committed to uplifting the city of Fairburn and surrounding communities through faith, service, fellowship, and acts of kindness. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Hattie Portis Jones, Mayor of the City of Fairburn, Georgia, along with Mayor Pro Tem Ulysses J. Smallwood, Council Members Anatavia and Benson, Council Member Linda J. Davis, Council Member Fannie Mae Hauser, Council Member Shanita Nichols, and Council Members Samuel Perry, hereby recognize and celebrate Living Word Church Ministries for its years of faithful service, dedication of spiritual growth, and positive impact to the community. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be presented in recognition of the church's dedication ceremony and the continued mission of Living Word Church Ministries to inspire, serve, and strengthen the community. In witness thereof, I hereby affix my signature this 23rd day of March 2026.
We are, Living Word, we have a few of our members here. Will you all please stand? Will you all please stand? I tell you, I can say a few words and try not to cry. Amen, amen. But it says a lot that we were able to stay together long enough to do this. And I want to let you all know we appreciate you all's support. Y'all know we came before you all many times as we were trying to develop this project. And we thank you all for your nods and your encouragement and even sending us back, because we came with one building. I could tell you all were not necessarily interested in having in the city of Fairburn, but you all said, just come on back, keep coming until you get this thing approved. We got it approved, and with faith and endurance. And one thing I must say, so that it be on record, we pushed forward in faith to do this thing, and we came to the end of this journey in terms of when we were going to start building the building. We didn't have all of the money at the time, but but God, amen. 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 We spent almost $1 million just to develop the property, and then when we were looking for general contractors, one general contractor said, "I don't want the job, but my crew." And we're going to disappoint our guys if we can't do a project where we build and frame up a church for free. And I said, look at God, look at God. So they needed us, we needed them. God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask or think, according to the power that's at work on the inside of us. And we want to thank you all so much. And thank you for everything.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is Electric Cities of Georgia, City of Fairburn electric rates by the City Administration Office.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. We are fortunate to have with us Walter West and Cho from Electric Cities of Georgia. They have been instrumental with all utility cities across the state, and certainly here in Fairburn. They've been a tremendous partner with us. We asked them to come and share information and context as it relates to utility rates, both previously and currently. And with that, I'll turn it over to Walter and Cho.
Real quickly, just Electric Cities of Georgia. So I'm Walter West. I'm the president and CEO, and really appreciate. And what we do is we work. About that, can you guys hear me better?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So Walter West with the Electric Cities of Georgia. So we're a not-for-profit. We're a entity that just provides services to the cities in Georgia that have their own electric system. So we're a shared experts model. So when Mr. Phillips says that, we do electric rates, we do that for most of the 52 cities in Georgia, along with helping train your line workers. We have a economic development team, an engineering team. We do a number of things. So just want to make that point before we have our lead expert. And I guess before I do that, I want to thank you for allowing us to borrow Derek Hampton as one of our Electric Cities of Georgia board members. So we thank you for that. And this is Cho Nguyen. He's our senior director over rates, and he's going to talk about, what the study that was done in 2003. So when you see this, you'll see a lot of 2003 reference, and that's why is to kind of update the electric rate proposal that has a 10-year plan to it. So.
You mean 23?
23.
23.
Did I say 2000?
Oh, 3.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure everybody was paying attention. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Cho Nguyen. I'm a Senior Director of the Anchor Service. And my job is to do rate study for a lot of cities who own the power plant. So, City of Fairburn, this presentation was presented to City Council sitting at that point and back in, I would say, September, October of 2023. And we start off the presentation by just introducing general concept, right? How city government work, and where the general fund, the police and city general government get the money from. Essentially, the general fund, which incorporate the city manager, finance director, police, park, recs, and everything else, get the funding from tax and enterprise fund transfer. Those are the two major source of funding for city operation. And so you can see right there, tax and enterprise fund, and then there's some small thing like fine and forfeitures and franchise fees. And so out of the electric fund, then you got a transfer. So how electric fund make money is through the rates, through late fees, to deposit, to connection charge, and all their miscellaneous charge. But all out of the revenue that electric fund make, come a transfer to general fund to help city with general operation. And in the state of Georgia, the typical transfer percentage is 11%. So as a note right there, enterprise fund, which is electric utility, is a proprietary fund used when goods or service are sold to public for a fee and can make contribution to general fund. And the basis of this is that the enterprise electric fund need to be self-sustained. They need to stand on by themselves, need to make at least break even or at least make enough money to transfer to general fund. But after that, it's basically breaking even because you all, as city, is not a nonprofit. So the aim is not to make profit, but rather just make enough to support the general operation, and the rest is just have enough to sustain, to maintain the line, to make sure that the quality of service is there. So next is the electric fund and the revenue requirement. So each year, as City Council approve a budget, you have a set of expense that you approve, and those are called, expense budget obligation. Those are what you are required to pay. So then, when you approve, and when you approve that budget, essentially it's become a revenue requirement. Because if you approve the obligation, you must pay for that. And so you must have the revenue sufficient enough to pay for that obligation, to whatever you approve for the budget for the fiscal year. And so what you see here is a scale, and it's a balanced scale, meaning it's a balanced budget, revenue equal expense. That's the way the city government and enterprise fund work, right? So there must be sufficient revenue to pay for approved expense, and city may include reserve, or city may include transfer as part of it. As you can see, one of the four red circle up there is the transfer. The other one is power cost. The distribution budget is the electric department. Reserve is optional, but transfer, those are the basis that form the approved expense. Okay, yeah. And so essentially, in order to have balanced budget, you need to have sufficient revenue to pay for the expense that you set out to be. So on this slide, as perspective, a review into looking at the past. So last time you'll have a rate change before 2023 was in the fiscal year 2012, 2013. So it's been a very long time. So when you made the rate change in 23, it's been 10 years. And so you go for 10 years without any rate increase, without any rate adjustment, without any change to PCA or environmental costs. So if you look at that decade, who here have lived through that decade, and basically if you work for somebody, if you work for a company, you would expect to have a cost of living adjustment at least one few years in that. But here, essentially, from 2012 to 2013 through 2023, there was no rate increase. So while costs gone up, the cost personnel, the cost supply material, all that gone up, city have kept the rate the same. So that's almost like impossible task, right? And how you guys did it was essentially dipping to saving. So this just kind of give you an overview of one of your biggest expense is the wholesale cost of power. That's coming from MEAC and SEPA, right? And so you can see in 2012, it was in the mid $5 million. And in 2022, it's all got all the way up to 10 million. And so it's roughly a 3 million increase since 2012, a 60% increase. And so for 2023, when we come to you, we say, look, I mean, you got a drastic increase. Your cost actually went up, but your rate remained the same. So even though you outlined, you said, here's an obligation we have to pay for, you actually tie the hand at the rate, tie the city administrator hand and just say, you cannot raise rate. And so basically how that gap is made up is essentially you have to dip into saving to pay for that. And so this was a projection. And so at 2023, we did a projection. On the left is the red bar is the actual, and on the right is the budget cost. So the budget cost in blue bar is what we embed into the 2023 rates. So it was supposed to cover those costs. Now, if we go forward, I just pulled today, and so this is an extension of what we show. So from 2012 to 2036. And so essentially the actual is in red, or that's your actual cost from wholesale. The blue bar is what was embedded into the rate. What is that? That's the revenue that the rate's supposed to cover, the cost of the rate's supposed to cover. But since then, MEAC have come back and revised those analysis and now see that it should basically show in green. Essentially, the costs have gone up beyond what we put into the rates. So for example, if you look in 2026, at that time, the best information at that time projected is the cost going to be 8.8 million. Well, now the cost MEAC project for this year is going to be 9.6 million. So that's $1 million difference already. And as you go forward, you can see the very bottom line. It goes from 0.9 to 1.1 to 1.8 to 1.9 and go back. So basically from 1 million to close to 2 million. That is unrecovered. It was not, we didn't expect that to go that high. And so the rate basically did not cover those increased portion, $1 to $2 million that the new information now show. So essentially, even though we propose a 10-year rate plan, we have a certain cost in mind, and the cost was best known at that, best available information at that time. Now, the biggest piece of your cost is really the wholesale power cost, and that is going to go up by 1 to 2 million beyond what we already baked into the rates. So, but that's just the only slide I will talk about the new. But this upcoming slide right here is basically talking about preparing for 2024 fiscal year at the time when we were we were in the middle of 2023. So essentially at that time, for fiscal year 2024 budget, we anticipated you were going to collect $10.5 million in revenue, and you brought forward a $2.6 million from previous year because of overcollection, $2.6 million. But then that's 10.5 plus 2.6, right? So that's close to 14 million. And then you got these total expense. You got total expense on the right-hand side, the 8.9 in wholesale power costs, distribution in 3.9, and transfer in 410, basically 400,000. And so that expense is 13.2 million. So if you didn't have that 2.6 million carry forward, and you basically stacking up 10.5 million revenue versus 13.2 million in expense, the obligation is 13.2, and you only have enough money for 10.5 million. Well, that means you have a shortfall of $2.7 million. And so essentially, general fund have to subsidize electric fund. It's a complete reverse of what it's supposed to do. So general fund basically have to help the electric fund enterprise out. And remember what I said the first time, each enterprise fund should be self-sustainable, right? This year, they weren't able to. So then what we did here is we project that expense outward from 2024 to 2033. So you can see under revenue, you got two sections. This is a busy table, and what I would just want to focus on is the bottom line of total revenue, line 7. You can see the stream of revenue for each year, and we go forward, and you got expense at the bottom in line, so 7 versus 10. Right? And so if you do the math, that's the part that is in line 13. Basically, it's showing that for 2024, you would have been $2.7 million in deficit for the enterprise fund. And then subsequent year, 2.5, 2.473, 2.437. And then as you go further out into 2030, you start seeing about $3.7 to $5 million. And so what it means is as you go forward, if nothing changed, the general fund is going to have to subsidize the electric fund, right? And so really, where is the money from general fund going to come from, right? Is if you don't raise utility rate, essentially somehow it had to magically made up in tax, property tax. That's the only other major source of revenue. So the choice was very clear. If I could say that. And essentially, and you have very little bit left in saving. Essentially, at that time, the MEAG Competitive Trust Generation Fund was standing at $4 million. That's your saving. But that is restricted. That means that you can only put that money to use if you invest into a new power plant, which you're not doing. And so what's left is $2.6 million in flexible that you can access anytime, and then operating cash flow of $300,000. So with a $2.7 million in deficit project for 2024, how long do you think that saving will last you? A year, right? Not 2 years, right? So the do-nothing scenario basically show that, if you had done nothing, then, electric fund going to have to do something to help out the general fund going to have to help out the electric fund, and not only for that year, but for decade to come. So what we came back with proposal was a 10-year rate adjustment. And basically, at that point in time, there was not transfer between electric to enterprise. It was complete opposite. But in reality, one of the reasons why you have electric enterprise fund is really to help out the operation. So one of the goals we want to attain at that point in time was eventually move to a 6% transfer from electric fund going to general fund. And that was in the rate plan. And we also asked to use some of the saving. So use MCT reserve fund for 2024 to 2026 rate adjustments. And so you basically, the rate adjustment would have been higher if we didn't dip into your saving. We use a little bit of your saving and then did the rate increase. And then our goal also to essentially replenish reserve fund in 29 and 32. And the reason for that is if this is the MCT is your only saving, what happened if a storm come through and wipe out the system? You have no money left. Now, typically, the bond rating agency like Moody would say you need to have at least 270 days of operating cash reserve. And 270 days, you take your annual budget, I don't know, about 12, 13 million. So, 270 is basically 75% of that. So that's how much you need to have in your saving for rainy day. But, essentially, you no longer have any because we use it in the plan right here. And then if there's cost changing, we propose a power cost adjustment for interim adjustment. And as you can see in the previous slide here, I mean, now is probably you are needing to do that. You need because the cost that baked into the rate is no longer reflective of the actual cost. And so, yes, we have proposed power cost adjustment increase, but it's just waiting for your consideration. And so we also suggest a review cost of service and rate every 3 years. And so that's what our suggestion is. And so this slide right here kind of tell you how much of a rate increase we bake in. So essentially, for the first year in 2024, we asked for 8% increase. For 2025, 6%, 2026, 6%, 27, 5%, and 3% from 2028 onward. And then we also use the saving, roughly about, I think, let me see, about 1.9 million, about roughly 2 or 3 million in the saving to offset some of the increase. And so essentially at the end of 2026, on line 16, it showed that by the combination of using some of the saving and rate increase, you would be balancing the budget. And then by 2027, you would then start rebuilding some of the saving for the rainy day, right? And so that's what the plan was at that time, and we received council approval for that. But as you can see in the previous slide, now probably be a time that we need to revisit. And I hate to say it sooner than later, because essentially it's not only the wholesale power costs that are increasing. You also have all the project, you also have all the costs that due to inflation, due to tariff, that is basically, hammering the city operation. And so essentially, we, in the next couple of weeks, we'll have another discussion with you on this subject, much more in depth. So this slide essentially basically says Georgia Power rate increase. We are trying to compare, yes, Fairburn is city, obviously regulated and controlled by city council, and you have, the citizen and resident have direct connection to you all. But Georgia Power, they do have the Public Service Commission, which act as their regulator, right? And so for many years, they have come back and asked for increase. And at that point in time, they were looking at roughly 19 to 20% rate increase. And so one thing I want to point out that even though Georgia Power, yes, they are big bad wolf, and they are, they essentially look at their costs and they see, and if the cost is imbalanced with the revenue, they come to Public Service Commission and ask for rate increase, right? Well, that's the way of doing business. Well, in a way, I would say that City of Fairburn also need to consider operating as if it is a business. A business cannot lose money year over year. A business cannot ask for the general fund to subsidize the electric fund because that essentially means that you're going to have to raise tax on property owner and use that money to subsidize the ratepayers, right? And so this slide is pointing that really the best case scenario is if you see costs rising and you see it ahead of time, to plan a gradual rate increase. Because with gradual rate increase, it would avoid rate shock. Unfortunately, that's the world that we are living in with the inflation, with the tariff, with all the external factor that is hammering the cost. Yes, city try hard, city staff, director, electric director, Tony, try hard to keep the cost low, but there's something that is outside of their control. So the following slide is just basically, just to compare all the 10 years of the rate plan that we have. So it goes from residential rate to commercial non-demand rate to small power rate and go across all your rates. So basically that is the overview of the 2023 rate plan that City Council adopted at that time. So I come to you pleading that please keep the rate plan in place. But we will also approach you in next coming weeks and ask for your consideration of additional increase because essentially those $1 to $2 million have to be make up from the wholesale cost, along with all your other costs that have been upticking as well. So with that, I pause for questions.
Well, this is a presentation, and so we brought this before you so to introduce the information, and because we have 4 new members of council to help you to understand the history behind the rate increase. But this will be an item that we will discuss at length at our upcoming retreat. And as was presented, we are now faced with additional costs that were not part of the original scenario. And so those are issues we're going to have to consider. But thank you so much. We really appreciate you presenting this information and reminding us of why that decision had to be made at the time that it did, and that we are now faced with some other issues that we're going to have to consider. And so, again, we will be discussing those at length at our upcoming retreat. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Madam Clerk, next item.
The next item is acknowledgement of Women's History Month.
I wanted to take this moment. March is Women's History Month. In Fairburn, we've made history. This is the first time in Fairburn's history that we have 5 females serving on Fairburn's City Council. This is in the history of Fairburn, which we are 170 years old, there's about. And so I thought it would be appropriate to acknowledge this moment. And I want to present to the fantastic females on Fairburn City Council with this plaque of acknowledgement. So as I call your name, will you please come down? Councilwoman Anatavia Benson. In honor of Women's History Month, we would like to show appreciation for your public service, contribution, and impact with the Fairburn community. This award is presented to Councilwoman Benson, March 23rd, 2026. Councilwoman Linda J. Davis. All of the plaques read the same, but the point is that these 5 women make up this historic moment. Councilwoman Linda J. Davis. Councilwoman Fannie Mae Hauser. And our youngest council member, Councilwoman Shanita Nichols.
And with the mayor's permission, I have the distinct honor of presenting this particular award to the Honorable Mayor Hattie Portis Jones.
That's beautiful. Thoughtful. And I don't know if you guys saw out on our website, we're also honoring the many departments that are being led by females in the city of Fairburn. And it is amazing. I believe now we have seven or eight departments being led by females. But here tonight, I want to honor 2 of them, and that is our city clerk. Yes.
Awesome.
Oops. And for the very first time in Fairburn's history, we have a deputy city administrator. So I want to acknowledge that and to say thank you and congratulations to Mr. Miller Chris. And we will follow up with subsequent awards to our female-led departments. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is the adoption of the city council agenda.
Members of council, you have before you for the agenda for tonight's meeting. May I get an approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item.
Public comments.
Public comments. 30 minutes shall be available for public comments. Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have?
We have 5 speakers, Mayor.
Okay. Each speaker should have a limit, shall be limited to 3 minutes. However, speaker may transfer his or her 3 minutes to another speaker, but no speaker shall be permitted to speak for more than 6 minutes. Further, in the event, if more than 10 speakers desire to speak, each speaker, so that's null and void, because we have 5. And Issues raised at the time are generally referred to the administrator for review. Responses will be provided later. Madam Clerk, call the first speaker.
First speaker is Mr. Ernie Brooks.
City Council members, Madam Chair, I'd like to share 3 items with you tonight about how we could perhaps move our meetings a little more faster. The first one is, as you recall in the past several times, when you call for speakers, you go off the roster. And many people change their mind and don't want to speak, or they're mistakenly signed the roster thinking they're just signing in to the meeting. I'd like to propose that we just call the entire roster, have the speakers stand up behind one another as they sign in, and then that way you can get a good idea of how many speakers you're going to have. And then, a minute, when you only have 3 minutes and you lose a minute and it's down to 2, a lot of things you could say in a minute. A lot of things can happen in it. So it's just a proposal, that's all. You can take it for what it's worth. This is just one guy's opinion. The second thing is I've attended several meetings with the Downtown Fairburn Development Authority, also the Development Authority, and the Planning Commission meetings. And I can tell you, as a deliberative body in each and every meeting, there's parliamentarians that will give you a Saturday 8-hour crash course on Robert's Rules. And I'm not saying that you're doing things wrong. I'm saying that the intent is good, but really, every panel and committee could do a better job if they knew Robert's Rules. And I'm just making a suggestion that perhaps in your retreat, you could get a parliamentarian to give you a crash course in Robert's Rules. The third and final thing is I'm conflicted. I had Reverend Coggle tell me, Brooks, don't nothing move in the community until it goes through the church. And I'm conflicted because in my Bible, and I don't really want to talk about my personal religious beliefs, but on page 822 in my Bible, in St. Matthew, chapter 6, verse 5 and 6, it says something about don't be like the hypocrite and pray in public. Go to your home and go to your closet and be alone. Shut the door. Be alone. And take it for what it's worth. Ministers, let's give them a break. They got a lot to do with their congregations. And instead of, I got to be at that meeting. Now, take it for what it's worth. It's one's guy opinion. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Lee Walton.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity. 2 items tonight and nothing that I haven't spoken on before here. A bit more urgency this evening, though. I've talked about the 188 acres rezoning proposal for warehouse development. It's in the city of South Fulton. It's not your decision. However, were these warehouses to be built, they would be closer to the city of Fairburn than any existing warehouses in the city of Fairburn. This is very much in our backyard. It is actually directly in Pastor O'Neill's backyard. It's adjacent to Living Word Church property, as well as adjacent to the back of properties that front on Valley Brook. It stretches all the way from Living Word Church, where a new intersection is proposed that would have a lot of truck traffic that's not currently there, extends all the way to West Fayetteville Road, where another road would extend and allow trucks to access West Fayetteville Road. It would very heavily impact Highway 92. Unfortunately, there's a final vote scheduled on this rezoning tomorrow evening at the City of South Fulton. There's a public hearing at 6 o'clock. I would encourage anyone who's interested and concerned about this issue to attend. It's actually a result of a developer's lawsuit that this is coming back around. It was denied rezoning at the end of October last year. So, issue of high concern for Fairburn residents and South Fulton residents alike. Secondly, I'd just like to pose a question, and I understand that response will be forthcoming in the future. But again, the question of the courthouse, it's my understanding that an invitation for bids for exterior repairs was issued in, I believe, November of last year. And I believe at least one bid was received, and it's been 90 days plus or minus since that time. So just interested in progress towards the courthouse repairs. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ms. Nancy Sanchez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Nancy Sanchez, and I've been a homeowner of Fairburn for the past 10 years. I'm here tonight to raise a serious concern about the rising costs and the reliability of our power service in our city. Over the past year, my utility bill in my home has increased significantly, along with everyone else in the city, from about $267 to $351 to this month's $560. That's roughly a 30% increase just in 1 year after running a quick pivot table in my Microsoft Excel sheet. For many families, including mine, that is not a small change. It's a real financial strain. In Fireside and Elder Street neighborhood alone, which is where I live, we have also experienced 14 power outages within the last year alone, 5 of those being because of natural disasters. That level of inconsistency is completely unacceptable. These outages do not just cause an inconvenience, they damage our property. Personally, I've had to replace a refrigerator, and now the new one that we've replaced is starting to fail, and I still haven't even finished paying for it. What's especially frustrating is that during the recent elections, we heard commitment about addressing high utility costs, yet here we are, being told that these increases were approved back in 2023. So I would like to ask, where's the transparency in that? That raises an important question. How does this decision help the residents that you guys currently serve? I also want to highlight the impact on working families and our elderly. Imagine a household of 5 like mine being hit with a utility bill of $560.82, while minimum wage within the city is about $10 an hour, and anyone that is receiving disability in the state of Georgia receives an average of $700 a month as income. That's simply not sustainable. Families are being forced to choose between the basic needs. So I would like to ask the council directly, what steps are being taken to improve the reliability of our power infrastructure? What accountability exists for the repeated outages in our neighborhood? And what relief, if any, is being considered for residents facing both higher utility bills and damages for our appliance? I saw that you guys referred the LIHEAP, L-I-H-E-A-P. Well, I just wanted to let you guys know that I personally reached out to them, and they told me that their funds have been maxed out. And not only that, it also takes a whole working day just for you to go and sit there and apply with the hope that you might receive aid. So because of that, I wanted to bring it to your attention because it feels like we as Fairburn residents are being asked to pay more with our utility bills, but are honestly receiving less. Thank you.
The next speaker is James Bodley.
All right, good evening, Mayor. My name is James Bodley. I'm a proud resident of the subdivision of Brookhaven. I live on Somerset, and my concern is I'm getting some feedback, and I see the progress on John Rivers Road. There's some lights been put in, but for some reason, it seemed like when they put in the lights, they just stopped about halfway down, so I'm trying to get the lights all the way down towards the school. And also, I would like that side, my community, to have a walkway such as was done on Vernon V. Smith, sidewalks, all right? So I live in, like I said, I live in Brookhaven on Somerset Hills. And the next thing I would like to ask about is I take pride in my community and my home. And I notice in my subdivision, we have the corner street signs are black, and they're like almost like Gothic. And some of them are leaning. I've called in the past, and I've talked to Ms. Chris about it. Some of them are leaning, and some are not been painted. So my concern is that I've been told that if you guys come in, you guys are just going to put in another street sign, that's ugly, that doesn't complement what's in the neighborhood. So I would like to see who's responsibility for is painting what we have and writing the ones back up right, because I personally went out and got one erect on my corner and painted it personally. So that's my concern where I live at over there on Somerset Hills. All right? Thank you.
The next speaker is Inga Kennedy.
Thank you. Good evening again. I'm Inga Kennedy. I live at 110 Orchard Street, and I love where I live. Thank you so much. My comments are going to be a little brief because Lee Walton set up the context for my comments regarding the City of South Fulton's rezoning. And to reiterate, we are aware that you are not responsible for their rezonings, and I, as a resident, am not privy to make comment on their rezoning. However, it's very important, and I'm appealing to you for two reasons, or for two things. Number one, if you are so inclined, if you would reach out to the City of South Fulton elected officials and let them know how you feel about it. I hope you oppose it, but at least let them know how you feel about it, because it does impact, as Lee mentioned, all of us. And then the second appeal is for more regional coordination with our elected officials and decision makers in the cities adjacent to us, particularly relative to development. We are all small towns and all needing property taxes, and warehouses have come along to fill that void with promises of taxes and other benefits. The region is quickly becoming being overtaken by warehouses. And I'm speaking of region now, not just Fairburn, but our region, South Fulton County, South Metro area. It's quickly being overtaken by warehouses, many of which are vacant, yet we're still approving warehouses. A joint discussion with the Atlanta Regional Commission and South Fulton County, South Metro elected officials to address this issue could be convened. As a reminder, one of their responsibilities is to approve the developments of regional impact, and or DRIs, as we call them, or as they call them. But they look at them in terms of just the jurisdiction that's applying for it, not necessarily always beyond the boundaries of the jurisdiction. So a conversation or a discussion with ARC and the adjacent decision makers could help a little bit. In the next several years, warehouses are going to become the new blight, and we know what blight is. Unfortunately, it will be very difficult to reverse the impacts. So you're working over in the blight in my neighborhood, and it's going well, and it's easy to reverse, and things trees grow back, and vegetation comes in. That is not going to be able to happen with these abandoned warehouses that are sure to come. In addition, the warehouse developments, without being said, the trucks and all are impacted.
Concluded.
So thank you so much for allowing me to do that, and please consider my appeal. Thank you.
Mayor, that's all the public speakers.
All right, thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is going to be approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes for the City Council meeting February 23rd, 2026.
Members of council, you've received the minutes of the February 23rd meeting. Is there approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item.
The next item is going to be the consent agenda, and I'll just read each item for the record. Number 5, reappointment of Jared Wheeler, artist known as Rod Parker, to the Art Advisory Council. This request to approve the reappointment of Jared Wheeler to the City of Fairburn Art Advisory Council for a 4-year term commencing March the 23rd, 2026 and expiring March the 23rd, 2030. Number 6 is the reappointment of Frederick Harper to the Art Advisory Council. This is a request to the reappointment of Frederick Harper to the City of Fairburn Art Advisory Council for a 4-year term commencing March the 23rd, 2026 and expiring March the 23rd, 2030. Number 7 is the appointment of Carlos Montano to the Art Advisory Council. This is a request to nominate Carlos Montano to the City of Fairburn Art Advisory Council for a 4-year term commencing March the 23rd, 2026, and expiring March the 23rd, 2030. Number 8 is an appointment of Masika George to the Art Advisory Council. This is a request to nominate Masika George to the City of Fairburn Art Advisory Council for a 4-year term commencing March the 23rd, 2026, and expiring March the 23rd, 2030. Number 9 is a reappointment of Chris Wiley to the Downtown Development Authority and the Development Authority of Fairburn. This is a request to reappoint Chris Wiley to the Development Authority of Fairburn and the Downtown Development Authority for a 1-year term commencing March the 23rd, 26, and expiring March the 23rd, 2027. And number 10 is a reappointment of Todd Ireland to the Downtown Development Authority and Downtown Authority of Fairburn. This request is to reappoint Todd Ireland to the Development Authority of Fairburn and the Downtown Development Authority for a 1-year term commencing March the 23rd, 2026, and expiring March the 23rd, 2027.
Members of council, you have before you the consent agenda. Is there approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item.
Next item is on the regular agenda, number 11, the racetrack final plat. This is a request from mayor and council to approve the racetrack final plat as the plat conforms to all applicable zoning and subdivision requirements.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The item before you is a final plat request. Just for context, a final plat is a request to subdivide land. The applicant previously came to council for the use permit in 2024, and that use permit was completed. Now they're in the stage of subdividing the land. After the plat review, then the concept plan is then submitted to our team. It's reviewed, and then after that, the land disturbance permit, and then after that, the building permit. So they are very much still in the early stages of this development. We do have the timeline of the use permit. It was quite a long process with a great deal of back and forth with the developer. It was approved because of its relationship with the comprehensive plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission at the time also reviewed and recommended approval, and council approved the request. So now we're looking at the plat. After the plat, of course, is the LDP and the building permit. So this is the location along Fairburn Industrial Boulevard. There are 2 parcels. The parcel that is closest to Fairburn Industrial Boulevard totals 5 acres, which is the minimum lot requirement to meet the supplemental regulations for the use permit. After this is reviewed, and if approved by council, the applicant would then take that plat, record it, and begin with the next stage of the development process. If you have any questions regarding the timeline, the applicant is here, but I can answer any questions for staff.
Any questions, members of council?
I don't have a question. I have like
Yes.
a comment.
Yes, Councilwoman Nichols?
Yes. Thank you for this. This is already in the stages of moving forward, so I understand that. But I just want to make sure that we are being intentional about what development we're attracting, making sure that it enhances economic value, supports quality of life, and aligns with our long-term vision. I know another gas station is not what all of our residents are wanting, but obviously this is something that has been approved. So that was just my comment. But I just want to think, as we think through different zoning and different areas, what's the best use of it and other options besides a gas station?
Any other questions? Yes.
For the traffic study for parcel 1, can we be provided that so that we can see what the impact of that traffic's gonna look like on?
So the traffic study, preliminary traffic study was provided with the use permit, but the applicant will have to submit a comprehensive traffic study along with the LDP, but we can provide that for any members of the public or council that would like to review.
Yes, if we could, the council could. And for parcel 2, what would parcel 2 be?
Parcel 2, it's being subdivided, so it's 1 parcel, and it's going to become 2. I don't know what the development plans are for that one right now, but the applicant is the best person to speak to that.
Are they here? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Could they come
Yes,
forward?
have them come forth. But before they do that, Ms. Brookins, could you just For the record, it's Fairburn Industrial. Well, could you just state for the record exactly where that is and why it's zoned the way it is?
So it's located at Fairburn Industrial Boulevard and Howell Avenue. It's surrounded by industrial. It's one of the heavy industrial zoning districts. So when the process went through, the applicant had to come in, even though it was heavy industrial, because of the context. You want to make sure for things like truck terminals, gas stations, those are things that have to come before the mayor and council for review to make sure within the context of the surrounding land use pattern that it fits. And in that instance, because it aligned with the comprehensive plan, which designated the area as light industrial, and the zoning was heavy industrial, in that instance, the request was complementary to the vision at the time.
And could you also provide the background regarding Howell Avenue and its coming into existence? Because that's a recent roadway in the city of Fairburn, and why that was necessary.
Mr. Thompson can probably speak to a lot better than I can, but just for context, that was an area that had some significant transportation improvements. The developers who were looking at that area had to put in those improvements as a part of that request. Not to say that this is complete. So with any new development, we have to look at it with new context. We have to look at what the traffic patterns are going to be. So along with the LDP, our traffic engineers are looking at what potential impact that this development will have. And so that developer will then be responsible for all the infrastructure improvements. So the ones that are there and the ones that are required. But that requires a great deal of analysis. And once they complete that, the developer will then be responsible for adding that infrastructure for the impact of the development.
Okay, thank you.
And those infrastructure improvements are tied to the issuance of the LDP. So it still requires that those things be implemented in order to get the land disturbance permit to move forward.
And if the developer could come and address Councilman Perry's question regarding partial 2.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council Member.
Good evening.
My name is Nate Fuss. I'm with Bowler Engineering on behalf of the applicant Racetrack. So the current plans for the other parcel, parcel 2 on that previous map, there's no current plans. The seller who previously owned the whole parcel sold parcel 1 to Racetrack, and then parcel 2 is still in the hands of the seller, and we're not aware of any current plans at this time. I will note that that area, that rear area is heavily wooded, and there's a lot of streams, wetlands that run through that area, so it's going to be very hard to develop that back portion of the site.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brookins, are you able to tell us how partial 2 is zoned?
Yes. Partial 2 also has the industrial zoning.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any further questions? Yes,
I don't know.
Councilwoman Hauser?
So that partial 2, is that for light or heavy
I
industrial?
believe that is for heavy industrial as well.
And partial 1 is for
Heavy industrial
heavy
as
as well?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Councilwoman Davis?
Quickly. Ms. Brookins, do the Planning and Zoning Department, or do you have any concerns with parcel 1?
Yes, I would say just with the impact of this expansion, when the next development comes into improvements, whomever decides, however they decide to build on it, there are concerns with just general traffic. I would say in the entire city, we have some definitely areas that we want to see improvements. With regard to heavy industrial, though, as was mentioned in the previous comments, I think there is validity to looking at and making sure that any future improvements are reviewed. I would say, in particular, I think what's helpful is that once it's approved, there are distance requirements from certain industrial uses, so you won't have the same kind of development, but depending on what they decide to do in the future, yes.
Okay, and that concern was regarding parcel 1 or 2?
I would say parcel 2.
2, okay. So that we don't know, it is still in the hands of the owner, is that correct?
Yes.
And we don't know what his or her plans are for that? And are they required to then become before this body with proposed plans?
Depending on the nature of the development, most likely, yes.
Yes, okay.
But I would say I'm concerned with every single parcel in the city of Fairburn and making sure that the development is beneficial to residents.
Okay. And then one last question. Are there any conditions with this final plat?
Not necessarily with the final plat.
Okay.
But the developer has to have an updated traffic study when they move further along.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. All right, you have before you a recommendation for mayor and council to approval of the racetrack final plat as the plat conforms to all applicable zoning and subdivision requirements. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that motion carries. Next item.
The next item is number 12, purchase and installation of 2,835 AMI electric meters. This is a request for mayor and council to approve an agreement with Kendall Supply for the purchase and installation of AMI electric meters for an amount not to exceed $732,937.
Good evening, esteemed mayor and council. And
Good
I'd like to
evening.
introduce myself to the new members of the council. My name is Tom Banks. I've been with the city for 22 years come August, and also I am the electric utility manager. Staff are seeking the approval of an agreement with Kendall Supply to purchase and install the remaining 2,835 electric meters needed for the advanced metering infrastructure integration of the city, not to exceed $732,937. Kendall Supply will remove the old electric meters, capture any existing billable data, and install, program, and evaluate the operation of the new AMI meters. The necessary installation of this new modern metering system will eliminate all existing electrical, mechanical, and first-generation digital AMR electric meters. The implementation of this system will significantly improve all aspects of the collection of billable data for our customer base. We will instantly be able to share what data the electric meters produce to our customers with real-time usage as it pertains to electric consumption, concerns, or questions. With Fairburn Utilities' initiative in the installation of this system, it will allow the advantage after the establishment of a new account and immediate confirmation of service that can be implemented before the customer leaves our offices. Capability of instantaneously energizing the electric meters at their home will be conducted by a keystroke on our staff's computers. It will allow customers to have the disconnection of service after they close their account by the same means, in person or by phone. Other features such as direct electronic communication from the individual meters to the utility of any tampering, power outage alert, and the capability of real-time consumption information. This can be monitored by a customer phone app that is available after the completion of the integration. In conclusion, with continued aggressive efforts made by Fairburn's electric utility enterprise, with current and future electric infrastructure projects, we will continue to bring long-lasting dependability, support, and confidence with service to our citizens and continue to usher the city of Fairburn into the 21st century.
You have before you a recommendation to execute an agreement with Kendall Supply for the purchase and installation of AMI electric meters for an amount not to exceed $732,937. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Benson?
Hi. So forgive my ignorance. I'm thinking back to when Director Hampton came and spoke to us about the replacement of water meters and how in doing so, the equipment that was used would enable residents to see when there was a water leakage, would enable for staff to notice that and kind of get the word out to residents. I know what you said about that app and everything that will give customers that information in real time. Can you talk about whether it would allow for notifications about surges and damage caused by surges?
No, ma'am, I do not have that information, but if I could allow Kendall Supply, they're here, and maybe they can answer that question.
Thank you.
Good evening, council.
Good
evening.
My name's Kevin Purcell with Kendall Supply. So when you have AMI data, you have real live data. And so Fairburn Utilities can add a customer portal through your existing utility billing system or any utility billing system or a third-party app. And what they do is they will take the data from your billing system that has last bill account information. They will take the data from the AMI system, they will marry it into a customer portal. And that customer can set all kinds of remind me alerts. Fairburn Utilities would be able to send out an immediate notification if it's a power surge, if it's a water surge. If we get back to a drought situation, Fairburn would be able to send out, don't water during these hours reminders. And so you would have the ability to contact your customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The customer would have their ability to see the data 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Councilwoman Nichols?
So hi, thank you for your presentation. Nice to meet you. Does this purchase represent the final phase of the meter transition? Are we expecting any other upgrades needed, or after this, that will be the set cost for the city?
This upgrade will be for the specific of residential meters. This will finish all the residential meters that we have in the city. There will still be some meters that will have to be looked at that are with, I would say, antiquated business areas to commercial areas that will have to be upgraded. But the biggest concern right now would be, in my personal opinion, would be to get everyone straight with their residential meters first.
Yes, Councilman Perry?
I believe about a month ago, we voted on a measure for transponders to work with the water, to work with the electricity. So all of this is going to work together seamlessly. So the software to integrate this into currently what we use for Fairburn, so that our residents can get this wonderful app, so that they can see all this real-time data. Right now, we're encapsulating that with the 732,000, or will there be more additional on this?
That will conclude the antenna that is going to be added at 106 Howell Avenue to be able to collect this data.
Okay.
There's also a contingency if it does not cover the projected area that is in the cost that was presented to council members of the addition of another antenna that would be in the area on the other side of John Rivers. And there's also a possibility that has been put in contingency to make sure that we have complete coverage in the information that was presented for a pole in the fireside area that would have another transponder if necessary.
So I guess we, with the transponders, with this purchase, this will cover all of the Fairburn utilities or all residents for Fairburn? Let me understand that.
So the previous approval was to start the software and put up the first base station. And we're into that. We're about a 90-day before we turn live and complete the software integration and everything. As soon as that first station goes up, it will read about 3,000 of your existing water, and about 800 of your existing electric. As Tom said, this phase will complete the residential, and it will touch some of the commercial meters, probably about 30%. There's some, we just don't have enough data. The cans are outdated. There's just more study that needs to be done to validate what we need to do. That survey is in this proposal here. And so the next phase of water will carry the next base station to be put up in the north part of the county. But we're hoping that, I'm pretty sure that everything that you have in place now, once we get this primary station up, is going to read everything plus what we put up with this proposal. And then when you have the water before you for phase 3 of water, it will finish out your total AMI system.
Okay. My very last question, just my very last one. So as we're a growing city, I think we're probably going to push past 20K here in the next year or two with the developments that we have coming. Is this system going to be scalable so that it continues to incorporate?
As long as you don't grow over 100,000, we'll be good.
I stand. No further questions.
Madam Mayor, if I may, Councilman Perry, there will be continuous funds allocated in the budget for meters, only because we may have meters that die on the electric and water side. So that is more of a repetitive budgeted item within our budget. But utilities is working to do an assessment of our commercial businesses so that we get the exact information of what meters are in the ground, and so we can work better with Kindle Supply, so that when we come before you for the commercial portion of this phase, we know exactly what we need to replace, and we'll have that outline. But this will complete the final phase of just the electric meters for residential customers.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
And then I have a couple questions. If this is approved, what's the timeline for receiving the meters and then the installation of the meters?
So the manufacturer right now is about a 4 to 6 month lead time on electric. And for the residential, they've been meeting about a 4-month window with the installation of your AMI and your software, getting your base station up. That really works really well. So I would say by the fall, you'll be all AMI. You'll be able to be talking to the customers, remote disconnect, all of the bells and whistles that you would want to have for the city of Fairburn.
And then what's the availability of meters? Are the meters subject to tariffs? Is that an issue? Do you have access to adequate supply?
Yes, ma'am, we do. And we've been planning for the last 5 years how to not impact the customer. We've been planning ahead, and so we're able to hold prices for the better part of a year most of the time when we're selling to our customers. The water is an in-stock item because it's, in general, it's not brand specific. The electric program is programmed just for Fairburn, for their needs, for alarms, and for all their different data usages. And so that's why we have a custom program in the electric meter, which takes it a little bit longer to get into the pipeline.
Okay. And we stay up to date, how should I say? The meters are always up to date because changes happen in the software and not necessarily in the hardware. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. All the meters have ability to be programmed over the air with firmware updates. You get 6 firmware updates with the water transmitter, and you get unlimited updates on the electric meter since they're powered at the pole.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one more.
Yes.
Something came to mind. What is the life cycle of these meters? And I'm not sure if you have this information, but what is like the malfunction rate? Or like, you know, with software, as you're reprogramming things can error out. Do you have information on that?
So once you become AMI, the system really tells on itself. So I'm a device in the field, and I create an error or improper read or anything, then you have that information at a dashboard. Whereas now you would only have it once a month when you drive by in a car.
Okay.
The failure rate is by manufacturer. The electric meters come with a 5-year warranty. The water meters and the water transmitters come with a full 15-year and a 5-year prorated. So if the water meter, the water transmitter dies in year 14, you get a brand-new device, starts over with a brand-new warranty. The electric doesn't really carry as much because you have a lot of power that's going through that event. There's a lot of different potential for damage in that area. So, and then the failure rate would be below the manufacturers. I would say it's somewhere down below 1%.
Okay.
And we carry with our agreement with Fairburn, we warranty all that for you. We handle all that through your personnel. We pay for all that to go back to the manufacturer for warranty, and we pay for it to be returned. So that is part of our care package with the city of Fairburn.
For how long? What term? Is there a term for this?
As long as you're a customer buying meters, you get everything that comes with that, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. All right, you have before you for mayor and council to approve, to execute an agreement with Kendall Supply for the purchase and installation of AMI electric meters for an amount not to exceed $732,937 Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Next item?
The next item is number 13, award ITB number 25-027 for Fayetteville Road reconduction and pole replacement. This is a request for mayor and council to execute an agreement between the city of Fairburn and Power Pros Powerline Solutions to replace the overhead wire conductor and 41 power poles on Fayetteville Road for an amount not to exceed $163,944.55.
Good evening once again, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Staff is recommending entering into an agreement with Power Pros Powerline Solutions, a vetted and approved ECG installer, to remove, replace, and renew 41 existing power poles, wire conductor, and supporting hardware along the entire length of the circuit supporting Fayetteville Road. Power Pros Powerline Solutions have successfully completed similar jobs in the city at Elder Street and Poplar Street safely, successfully, and on time. The power poles on Fayetteville Road have been in place for more than 40 years and desperately need replacement from exposure to the elements as well as below-ground rot. The wire conductor is extremely undersized and will not allow emergency support to the other areas in our city, especially our new housing developments such as Vickers Point and Evergreen subdivisions. With this upgrade, it will only strengthen our electric infrastructure, allowing improved service to our citizens, dependability in case of emergency.
All right, are there any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Benson?
What is the proposed timeline for this?
The proposed timeline for completion is 60 days.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilwoman Nichols?
Can you just clarify whether these poles are going to be a part of only the city of Fairburn's electric system exclusively, or will there be any coordination with Greystone or?
No, ma'am, there
Provide-
won't
okay.
be any coordination with it. We'll support only Fairburn system.
Okay, all right. And as we look at 40 years of having the same poles, what is like the plan moving forward to look at the infrastructure or have like some type of maintenance or system routine to make sure that it don't happen for another 40 years?
Well, that's a very good question. What we have in place now is we have developed a monitoring system to where there's outside entities such as, it's called SWOOPY, but it's Southwest Pole Inspectors. They come and they look at the poles and they monitor them for us on a rotation. So now this hasn't been implemented before so that we can prevent this from happening. In the 20 years I've been here, there's been a few poles that I've replaced on Fayetteville Road when I was still working in the field. One of them was at the Baptist Church where there's a transformer bank. It was put there in 1969. So I'm using 40 years as delicately as I could possibly do. But there are some that are older.
Yeah.
So that would be the preventative measure.
Thank you.
And I would just add that that dynamic exists in cities all over the country. Aging infrastructure is just one of those ongoing issues. And unfortunately, we see it in a lot of areas. And we've got a team that's always looking to how do we get in front of these issues. But you can point at infrastructure from water to electricity to roads to bridges. And a lot of these things have been around for a generation. And so systematically, and as much as we can, being fiscally responsible, we try to tackle these and upgrade them as we can.
Yes, Councilwoman Hauser and then Benson.
Okay, you said 41 power poles. How did you come up with that number? How do you know there aren't more, or, you know, there are more than 41? How did you come up with it?
The 3 poles that have been replaced are at the very front of the circuit on East Broad and Fayetteville Road. Those 3 have been replaced just recently from where the addition of the retaining wall was put there, okay? And as we went through there, I, with the contractor that did it, started looking at these poles when he was pulling them out, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, we've got to do something. And so my team has been going down and checking these poles and spotting them in different areas. Some are rotted below ground where you can't see it. And that is how we determined not to just replace a few poles, but if you replace all of them now, then you have that timeline of replacement and renewal as needed, instead of going, well, we did these 17, now we'll get these later.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Councilwoman Benson.
I think you've answered my question to a point, because I wanted to follow up on Councilwoman Nichols' question. What plan is in place to make sure that this, you know, just as, you know, Mr. Phillips said, we are dealing with aging infrastructure and we are tackling that. But as we're tackling it, what plan is in place to make sure that we aren't tackling this again in another 40, 50 years? Is there some sort of scheduled plan to make sure, say every 5 years, every 10 years, we're looking at the whole to make sure that we don't go through this again with our next strategic plan, with our next comp plan, et cetera?
Yes, and just as Councilwoman said earlier, the rotational plan that we have for the inspections is citywide. It's not just concentrated in one area. So that would be the way it would come through. For example, they would do all the poles on East Broad, say, okay? And as soon as that is done for the year, they may move and onto the other side of the tracks and do everything on Highway 29. And then after that, they would, and so that there would be a constant rotation of going around for the pole inspections every 1 to 3 years.
Okay.
We should be able to make it all the way around the city and know where we're at.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, is there a motion to, there's a request for mayor and council approval to execute an agreement between the city of Fairburn and Power Pros Power Line Solutions to replace the overhead wire conductor and 41 power poles on Fayetteville Road for an amount not to exceed $163,944,000 and 55 cents. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? Okay, that motion passes. Next item?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next item is number 14, purchase of 2 LifePak 35 cardiac monitors. This is a request from mayor and council to purchase 2 LifePak 35 cardiac monitors for an amount not to exceed $120,112.70.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Before you, the fire department is requesting approval to purchase 2 LifePak 35 cardiac monitors not to exceed $120,112.70. Just to give you a little history on the monitors, the fire department currently utilizes 5 LifePak cardiac monitors to provide advanced cardiac life support during emergency medical responses. These devices are used on all medical calls to perform critical patient assessment, life-saving intervention, including EKG monitoring, 12-lead EKG diagnostic, cardiac defibrillation, pacing, monitoring of other vital signs. We're asking to replace 2 out of the 5 because these 2 are going out of their life cycle. So the LifePak monitors, as you know, is part of the current industry. We use this for cardiac arrest along with our drug therapy when we're responding to calls. So to ensure the fire department maintains reliability, up-to-date equipment, we're asking you all to approve for these 2 LifePak cardiac 35 monitors to replace the 15s.
Okay, you have before you the request to purchase 2 LifePak 35 cardiac monitors for an amount not to exceed $120,112.70. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Move.
Is there a
Second.
second? Any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Benson?
You mentioned that these 2 are coming out of their life cycle. Where are the other 3 in their life cycle?
The other 3 will go out March 1st of 2027. And these 2 will go out next month.
Yes, Councilwoman Davis?
Yes. Is this an adequate number for the fire department, the 5?
Yes, right now,
total.
so with 5, we're running 1 out of every station, which is pretty common. And then the shift commander or the battalion chief has the 5th one.
Okay,
And he can roam the whole city.
thank you.
And my question, how can you be so specific about the date of them going out? Tell me.
I guess when they were built, just like, when cars are built, they have a date with parts and different things like that.
Okay.
So the company, they keep track of that, and, they, with it being a moneymaker, the company makes sure they send us the expiration date.
Mayor, typically, the lifespan doesn't mean the device no longer works.
Okay.
It's just recommended that you don't continue to use it because it's past its useful date. So it is likely that that unit would still operate, but we are
It's
operating
reliability.
beyond recommendation, and in a life safety situation, you just don't want to be in that position. So it doesn't die on that date, it's probably still useful,
Right.
but because the manufacturer says you should not use it past that date, out of an abundance of caution, we move forward with replacing it, because obviously when they're on scene in a life situation, they need to know that that unit's going to operate as designed.
Okay, thank you for that. And did you want to?
Now, to add to Mr. Phillips' comment, a lot of manufacturers, they'll start implementing not making those parts anymore.
Okay. And then you stated that Councilwoman Davis had asked you about the quantity and whether 5 was adequate, and you said that's 1 per station. Does that include the new public safety building that's coming on board, or would you need, that does include that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, Councilwoman Nichols.
Thank you. I'm supportive of this investment because I think it's important for us to be up to date as we think of the equipment. But what is the life cycle? Like, is it 5 years, or as we think of long-term planning, because the other,
Well, a lot of departments run a lot more. A lot of departments take care of their equipment better than others. We try to take care of ours pretty good. They recommend 5 to 6 years,
Okay.
but ours, we've been able to hold on for a little while.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that being said, how do you know it's reliable then?
Well, we check our equipment and we get
Okay.
it serviced.
Okay,
So, if it goes down, and everybody knows me, I'm gonna take it out of service and try to get it fixed right away. We use these on a regular basis, every day. You all wouldn't believe the call volume. Well, of course, you would with the city growing as we have. We run a lot of cardiac arrests in the city.
okay, that being said, if one goes down, say today or tomorrow, what's your backup?
We will pull one or we'll borrow one.
Okay, until you can acquire another one.
Right.
Yes, okay. All right,
Hey,
Councilman Perry?
Good afternoon, Chief. Appreciate everything that you and the fire department do to keep the citizens, residents of Fairburn safe. Absolutely. My one question is the 120,000 at the best use of funds. You guys have went around and made sure that this is the top of the line equipment for the top line price that we can get for this.
Oh, absolutely. This is, of course, top-of-the-line equipment, and it's on the recommended state bid list. So we've gone through the process of, you know, the bids and making sure everything is where it needs to be.
I don't know. I just found it when I saw the $120,000. You know, I think that's a lot of money, but I don't believe that it's a lot of money in the instance of when we're saying we have the opportunity to save a life here in this city, because that's priceless. So absolutely, that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, motion on the floor to approve the purchase of 2 life packs, 35 cardiac monitors in the amount not to exceed $120,112.70. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? Okay, that motion carries. Next item?
Thank you.
Next item is number 15, the Public Safety Complex, Construction Management at Risk, CMAR Agreement. The recommendation is for Mayor and Council to execute the Construction Management at Risk Agreement for the Fairburn Public Safety Complex for Construction Manager at Risk Services to Reeves Young LLC for an amount not to exceed $24,217,267.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
We are elated to be here tonight to talk about this item. It has been long overdue. We have been working on this for many years. This is the contract, the construction manager at risk service agreement with our construction manager at risk, Reeves Young, for the building of the public safety complex. This agreement,
Where, location?
it will be, we don't have an address yet, we'll get that soon. It is at the junction of Highway 74, Verlin B. Smith, and Highway 29. It is right beside the crematorium and cemetery. You notice a large tree area. Well, if you say yes tonight, those trees will move in the near future. And it will be replaced by what you see on the screen. The chiefs and I have met many times. We have talked years at end about this building. They are more excited than I am. They probably would be on site every day. This would be the safest building in the city. I can tell you that. But no, we are very excited because seriously, this is a big accomplishment for the city. The chiefs, though they not say it, their buildings are part of our aging infrastructure. Fire Station 22, Fire Headquarters, and the Police Headquarters are some of the older buildings we have. And we discussed with the previous council and shared some of the details of just the condition that they're in. We also built with future in mind. So we built for what they need now, but also with room to grow. Because the chiefs and we just talked about how this is what we have for the next decades to come. So this is, thanks to Mayor and Council's approval along the way, you approved the design of this back in 2024. And so we had one of our on-call design teams design this facility with input from both fire and police, as well as administration. Then you graciously awarded the construction manager at risk to Reeves Young in 2025. So after design and coordination, we are now here at a juncture ready to have the contract signed.
Okay, I can't hold my excitement. Okay. So request for Mayor and Council approval to execute the construction management at risk agreement for the Fairburn Public Safety Complex for construction manager at risk services to Reeves Young LLC for an amount not to exceed $24,217,267. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions?
Yes,
Yes, Councilwoman Nichols?
Not more of a question, but I just want to acknowledge the importance of this, how important this investment is. And as our city continues to grow, we need to make sure that our police and fire departments have modern, functional facilities. So I'm excited for this. Now I'll come visit y'all. So find a little space for me somewhere. But in all seriousness, I'm excited for this opportunity and the future of our growth. So thank you for this. But one little question. The 24 million, is that the full projected cost of this? Do we anticipate other costs outside of this agreement?
Very good. So you beat me to one of my points, Councilwoman. So this represents the cost for construction. This does not represent the entirety of the cost that we'll experience. So we'll be back to council for some additional costs that is normal for a project of this magnitude. We had to do things as gather easements. We're still coordinating with GDOT because that portion of the road is 74 is their right of way, not ours. So that ongoing coordination with GDOT about the permit and the access is ongoing. That will impact project costs. We've been talking to GDOT for some time now. That impact will be coming back with normally what we do in these projects also construction material and testing. So Mayor and Council will be bringing that before you. It's a normal process. We did it on Fire Station 23. Just have a third party to further provide quality control for the contractor. So yes, there'll be some other costs, but not to the magnitude of $24 million. No. But this is the largest chunk of the project cost. But as the owner, which is the city, there are other costs that you encumber to develop a site, and we will be experiencing those, and we will fully bring those back to you as well as updates about the project.
And then one additional question. What's the timeline? When can we expect this facility?
So glad you asked, and some of your colleagues know how I respond to these questions. I'm so glad. We will, we will most likely get started hopefully within the next 30, 45 days, if not sooner, because we already through the process and work with my colleagues. The contractor already has the LDP, minus the GDOT right away. So the timeline to completion, if we get started within the next 30, 45 days, will be fourth quarter of next year.
Whoa, wow. All right.
Okay. Yeah, fourth quarter of next year.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Weather
amen.
permitting,
Weather
and
permitting.
Yes.
no
Supplies
unanticipated
availability.
issues. That is an estimate.
GDOT working with us because
Yes.
weather did affect us on Station 23. It did. So, Mr. Phillips, that's why I give ranges, not exact dates, because we have some other things.
Yes, Councilman Perry?
So this fully.
I'm sorry, wait, just a moment. Councilman, are you done? Yeah, yes, okay. I'm sorry. Go
So
ahead.
this fully encapsulates bringing the police department, police headquarters, fire headquarters, there to the new public safety complex. Also, what else does this provide the city?
Sure, I'd love to give you highlights of the building. So this 40,000 square foot building, which will be the largest city-owned building that we have when it is done, it is almost 3 times as large as Fire Station 23. If you've seen that station, that's what we're going to do for the chiefs.
Yeah.
It will house all of police, so police headquarters you see now is that small building beside the substation in front of the manor. This police will have 2 stories on one side of the complex that'll house all administrative staff, all the detectives, roll call, real-time crime center, property, all of that will be in there, as well as a gym shared by both police and fire. It will house Fire Station 22, which will replace the one that is downtown on the other side of the manor. It will be a 3-base station like Fire Station 23, as well as having the bunk area, the residence area for the firefighters. The second floor will consist of fire headquarters for command staff. And to the far right of the complex, as you go back around, you'll see it. There is a community room, community gathering room, a meeting center. So that space is just designated. If you're looking at this picture where the flags are, that pitch-shaped roof is a community room, a community meeting center, basically, where the community can meet and hold meetings, hold HOA meetings, whatever it may be. In that space is designed just for that.
And I would anticipate that the discussions with GDOT include a stoplight right there, 74 and that 29 jump.
We are working hard to work with GDOT. It is their right of way. They do have say, but that's our hope. That's what we want. So we are asking for it.
Okay.
We're gonna be praying for you.
So just wanted to add, in reference to transportation, so Dana, staff, consultants have been in contact with GDOT. Our initial request was for a stoplight on 29 at the top of the loop, if you're coming down Roosevelt Highway. That one was denied by GDOT. They said there wasn't enough data to warrant a stoplight at that location. And so Dana and staff, along with the consultant, is going back to the table to figure out the traffic light for outside of the complex right now. They've submitted an alternative option, and so we're still working diligently on trying to get that traffic light.
I will add to
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Allow me to.
All right, Councilman Smallwood?
Right, and even though they're aging assets, how are the other buildings that they're gonna be leaving, how are they gonna be repurposed? Or what's the plan for those buildings?
We have given a lot of consideration to those, and there are several solutions that we are mulling over for the repurposing of both spaces. So we will definitely utilize both properties. They will not go away. We intend to reutilize them.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay. Yes, Councilwoman Benson?
Two questions, and one actually might be for, if not you, for Chief Bizidlo. It's my understanding that, of course, right now, the Fairburn Police Department relies on other cities to step in because it's not a 24/7 operation. With this facility, will that bring us to?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are a 24/7 operation.
Okay,
We
so
do operate around the
24/7
clock.
response then, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So forgive my confusion, because I know there are times when there are calls out that, like, City of South Fulton might come and respond to a call, or City of College Park, et cetera. So
So when we would reach out to an outside agency would be, for example, if we have a very serious car accident, possibly a fatality, we would ask the State Patrol to come out and do an accident reconstruction. For a major crime scene, we might reach out to the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, have them assist with the crime scene, bullet trajectory, stuff like that. But usually that's going to be for the most serious offenses that are pretty rare.
Okay, understood.
And
Sorry for the
typically,
confusion.
that is more of an operational issue with fire than police. Fire has what they call mutual aid with surrounding agencies. So it is not uncommon, and I don't want to go too far because the chief's the expert here, that if there's a major fire, you will see multiple jurisdictions respond. Fire kind of operates that way. It's not due to a deficiency, it's just a mutual aid support. In fact, this morning, our fire chief was helping Union City with a fire in their jurisdiction. And that happens pretty regularly. So Chief, let me stop there because you can explain this better than I can.
Again, good evening. Like Mr. Phillips was saying, it's more so fire because we have what we call automatic aid agreements assigned by all the cities. And NFPA is really strict on fire departments in the nation to have a minimum of 17 firefighters on a working fire scene. So all of us help each other to try to meet that standard. And it plays a role in our ISO rating. We're able to keep the one.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
And I want to be clear for citizens who are listening to this discussion. That automatic aid isn't due to a deficiency. It's just the standard of how fire departments operate. So they support each other in that way. And so, I have the occasion oftentimes to be a bystander when fire is responding. And it's pretty common that when you're on a large fire, you're going to see more than one city responding.
Right.
Fairburn will lead if it's in Fairburn, but you'll see a Union City unit or a Palmetto unit, or vice versa. If it's a fire in Palmetto, you'll see a Fairburn unit go down to provide that automatic aid.
Understood. Thank you.
And then also, Chief Bizotto, sometimes depending on where a crime might happen, there is cross jurisdiction, right? So
Yes.
could you explain, that may be the confusion.
Yes.
So could you explain that?
So our jurisdiction lines can be very interesting. The example I always give is if you go to Waffle House on 74, you're in the city of South Fulton. If you cross the road and go over to Dunkin' Donuts, you're in the city of Fairburn. So our jurisdiction lines can be very strange. So if multiple properties on Oakley Industrial Boulevard is another example. That's where that vein of South Fulton kind of comes through. So those apartment complexes you see on Oakley, the corner of Oakley and 92, those are all South Fulton. So you may see South Fulton cars as if believing they're in City of Fairburn, but it's actually their own jurisdiction. Very similar situation up and down towards the outskirts of Rivertown Road. The jurisdiction lines start jumping around kind of funny. And then going south to Bishop Road, for example, down 29, the jurisdiction lines can literally depend on what side of the road you're on. So.
And then if a crime maybe started in College Park and ends up in Fairburn, then College Park may be in our area as a result of that.
Absolutely, yes.
And then I'd just like to say, I am extremely excited about this project as well. Back in 2015, I believe it was, my second year on council, we had an audit done of the police department because there were some major issues of concern relative to the department, from keeping up with evidence. I mean, we had poor evidence room, property was getting damaged because of leakage. I mean, it was just a whole host of issues and concerns. But we brought a consultant in to just help us identify what those problems were and what were some of the things that we could do short-term and long-term to address those issues. And it was at the conclusion of that it was recommended that we start thinking about a public safety complex, because the city was growing at that time. And so I am just extremely pleased to see that come full circle now, that, we are about to break ground on this, assuming you guys approve it. So congratulations both to Chief Bazidlo and Robinson, because they have been here for all of those times, and this is kind of your baby that you've birthed, and you get to now see the full measure of your work. So congratulations to the two of you. But it just speaks volumes to the city of Fairburn that, we've planned ahead for this, because we are continually to grow, and we are continually stepping up in whatever form necessary to meet the needs of our community. And this just is one of many things. And then just one question I have for you, Mr. Smith, and that is, can you tell me where Park Road is relative to the public safety complex?
Absolutely, Mayor. Park Road would be further, if you're looking at the map, it'll be further north. So if you're standing at 29, looking down Verlin B. Smith, the public safety complex is to your right. That Park Road in the extension will be past the safety complex. So I would say north, but it really just past the safety complex. It'll be this way. So it does not connect to the complex, because in between the complex and that road is already the subdivision homes that are already there. So it would be beyond that, closer to the Renaissance festival.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Benson?
Going back to question number 2, and I'm sure you guys have already thought of this. Can you tell us what the thought process is as you all are breaking ground and everything for Renaissance Fest traffic that I'm sure would be affected during that time?
I'll say a little bit, I know, Chief. So yes, construction normally brings traffic concerns. And yes, when we finalize our coordination with GDOT, there'll be road improvements. That really how that looks depends a lot on what they approve in terms of the improvements to that intersection. We're talking about doing an additional decel lane going towards the loop. The particular traffic control device that's right there at the main entrance is the major part of discussion with them. And that kind of drives how much impact there'll be to the roadway. I can tell you, council member, that there's going to be a decel lane into the complex, and there's 2 entrances into the complex. So depending on the timing of construction, also depends on how much will impact the Renaissance Parkway and the Renaissance Festival traffic. And that finite information we don't have just yet, but we will be working with Chief to iron out the schedule and construction schedule so that we can better be proactive and like mitigate that, give the residents proactive notice, do whatever we can do to not impact traffic as much. The good thing about the traffic improvement, the traffic control with GDOT is that it's based on the traffic count now and with the complex. So it should help traffic altogether, not just the complex. So Chief, did you?
Additionally, I would add that a separate project that you will hear in great detail at your upcoming retreat is from Lester Thompson, our Public Works Director, which is to add additional traffic infrastructure to Veerland B. Smith in conjunction with the Park Road project that is designed to help address this long-standing Renaissance Festival traffic concerns. And so that's kind of an adjunct project along with the public safety complex. We've thought through that, and there's a project already underway that, once completed, and again, there's more to discuss, you'll hear that in great detail, should significantly address those traffic concerns along Veerland B. Smith, associated with the Renaissance Festival and the related areas around it.
Mr. Phillips and Mr. Smith hit the nail on the head.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, so you have before you a motion to execute the construction management at-risk agreement for the Fairburn Public Safety Complex for construction manager at at-risk services to Reeves Young LLC for an amount not to exceed $24,217,267. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. All right. That motion carries. Thank you both. Awesome. All three of you. Madam Clerk, next item.
The next item is going to be the Finance Director Monthly Report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
My name is Kenneth Abide. I'm going to present the financial report for the period ended February 28th, 2026. The general fund remains in a very strong financial position with an $8.18 million year-to-date surplus. Looking at the revenue continues to grow as at the end of February, we have exceeded the budgeted, revenue continues to significantly exceed expenditures with $18.35 million in revenue collected compared to $10.17 million in expenditures. As at the end of the same period, a total of 49.97% of the budgeted revenue had been collected, and 27.7% of the budgeted expenditure had been expensed. Still going the other way. Okay. On the next page, we have the revenue and expenditure year-to-date comparison. And that gives us a comparison of 24-25 fiscal year to 25-26 fiscal year. And it gives us a total fund balance of over $31 million. The next page shows the total revenue budgeted compared to year-to-date revenue collected, $18.34 million, giving a total percentage year-to-date of 49.97%. And on the expenditure side, it shows that a total of $10.1 million has been expensed compared to the budgeted amount, showing that 27.69%, that is the total year-to-date fund expended compared to the budgeted amount. On the enterprise side, it shows that as at the same period, total revenue continued to outpace expenses, with 11.82 million in revenue collected compared to 8.41 million in expenses. It shows that 42% of the revenue budgeted had been collected compared to 30% of expenses incurred. The enterprise fund remains in strong financial position with 3.41 million year-to-date surplus. And the revenue and expenses comparison shows that there's a surplus of year-to-date surplus of 3.12%. On the revenue side, it shows that 42% of the budgeted revenue had been collected, and the expenses side, it shows that 30% of the budgeted expenses, the budgeted amount has been expensed. That is showing for $8.41 million. Furthermore, the last page shows a comparison, the same period comparison with 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026. It shows an increase in revenue compared to the same period last fiscal year, but on the expenses side, there's a marginal increase in expenses compared to the same period last year. I'll take any questions based on this information.
Are there any questions? Yes, Councilman Perry?
Could you go back to the last slide, please?
The last slide.
Yes, sir. I see the bonds. How much longer do we have for the bond payment for, it looks like water, the water sewer bond? How much longer, how much do we still have with regards to that?
I don't have that exact information, but I can get it for you.
Okay. It looks like there's a, well, excuse me. As we've heard tonight from citizens, it looks like we are experiencing increases with regards to utilities, particularly. I think electric was the big one today, but I'm pretty sure water will probably be upcoming as something that's going to increase here shortly. So, do we take into account any forecasted expected expenditures for electric and water? Because I think right now that's what our citizens are.
So it's a very good question, Councilman Perry, and absolutely we do. Part of what was shared by ECG at the beginning of the meeting is that the rate increases that were approved in December of 23 by the council at that time were the first rate increases in over a decade. It was a schedule of rate increases over the next 10 years through 2033. Those rate increases were based on projections that MEAG had provided about the cost of power generation over that span. What ECG was sharing with you earlier this evening is that those cost projections have now escalated. Everything from tariffs to wars in the Middle East. And so currently, the rate increases that were approved in December 2023 now appear not to be adequate for the real cost of power for the next 10 years. So yes, we absolutely are going to have a conversation about that. That's specific to electricity. For water, the existing agreement that the city of Fairburn has with Atlanta Watershed Management is over 20 years old. And those costs go back to that time. If if any of our citizens have watched the news over the last couple of years, you've seen all of the issues with water main breaks, which goes back to aging infrastructure. Atlanta currently has, the last time we looked, about a $900 million capital improvement plan for water, nearly $1 billion. That's to fix water infrastructure in Atlanta, which is what supplies water currently, not only to Fairburn, but to Union City, Palmetto, most of the city in Fulton County, below I-20. It is a reasonable expectation that those costs are going to go up. We don't have a number at this point because that will be determined by the agreement that we negotiate with Atlanta. But because those rates have not increased in many years, it is reasonable that those costs are going to increase. We have tried as best we can and will continue to try to mitigate those costs so that at the end of the day, we can control, to the extent possible, the rates that we charge customers or citizens. But there's a real-time cost to water and electricity. And so the reality is, as those costs increase, we have to find ways to adjust for that. And so what he was explaining earlier is that for many years, we were running our enterprise fund, which is a separate fund for water, sewer, and electricity, at a deficit. And that's just not sustainable. We cannot do that. We have to, whatever we pay for those services, we have to recoup that, or the city will begin to not be fiscally sound. And so we'll have an opportunity to talk about this a lot more in the upcoming future. But to your point, Councilman Perry, it's an increasing cost environment, both for water, for sewer, and for power. And those aren't variables that you as elected officials control. We as staff don't control that. It's economic. It's all of the things that we see from, again, wars in the Middle East to tariffs. Crude oil is up to $115, $120 a barrel now. And so I know we don't always think of that when you get your utility bill, but all of this connects. And there are certain variables we can control, and we absolutely will on the ones we can, but we have an obligation to be transparent and honest about the environment that we're operating in, and those costs are increasing.
With regards to the, I guess, the upcoming renegotiation with the city of Atlanta for the 20-year agreement that we have, MEAG represents, I guess, a consortium of cities, of municipalities. Is there something that Fairburn could join? I know we can't speak for other municipalities, but is there something where we could partner with other municipalities to maybe united front, power together so that we can negotiate something of a better rate, for the citizens?
Another really good question. So MEAG, Electric Cities of Georgia, on the electric side of this issue, does provide a conglomeration of cities, and there is some ability to advocate through that collective. On the water side, it is not that clear because water is sourced in a bunch of different ways. And so I will tell you, in my discussions with the mayor and her vision for this, and what I agree with, is that water is a regional issue. And so we don't have a ready answer for that. We believe that a regional discussion is necessary. Fairburn is trying, well, not trying. Fairburn is going to be at the front of that effort to start that discussion because we believe the best, most affordable solution for water, it's a life source. Every city has to have it. Every city needs it. And so we need to have a regional discussion and bring mayors from a region around into a discussion and hopefully find a way that collectively we can come up with the best solution.
I guess lastly, I know this will be probably something that needs to be discussed later, but whatever revenue that we do have, could we potentially look at? I know we already offsetting the utilities department, but whatever revenues that we have, could there be a conversation with regards to more?
There are a lot of possibilities, Councilman Perry, and there will be several opportunities for us to have some very detailed discussions about utilities in general, but more specifically about electricity and water. There is a Middle Chattahoochee Regional Water and Sewer Authority, of which the mayor is a board member, Ms. Chris is a board member, myself is a board member. There's 2 other cities, Palmetto and Union City. And so there are discussions and regional impacts there. And so, again, we're going to be engaged in this issue and updating you as elected officials throughout that conversation. But there's a lot that goes into this, and we want to try to communicate that as best we can. You know, as homeowners, all of us pay monthly bills, and we are acutely aware of fixed incomes. We are acutely aware that any adjustment has serious impacts.
Yes.
And so it's why we have to be very clear, focused, and really creative in trying to address these issues. They're not easy. When the cost of power goes up, we have to figure that out. And so when the cost of water increases, and over time, those things happen. And so know that we're extremely focused on this and trying to create the best outcomes we can for all of the citizens in Fairburn.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to add, we are beginning the regionalization discussions. And in fact, at the South Fulton Municipal Association's meeting on Thursday, for which Fairburn is hosting, we invited ARC to do a presentation about water regionalization. So we are beginning those discussions. And then to your point about assistance, that is an issue we do want to discuss and to identify strategies in order to help make that happen. So this year, we will have some very difficult decisions to make because of the increased cost of everything around us. And so, but we hear you, and we will have those discussions. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
The next item is the city administrator's monthly report.
Mr. Phillips, before you begin, since we've already begun the discussion or about the utility rates, could you go ahead and introduce the legislation before the House and Senate now that could potentially have a substantial impact on all the MEAC cities and the rates?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, ma'am. So earlier today, I sent an email to all of you as council members in reference to House Bill 1567, which we became aware of through MEAG's advocacy late last week. It was presented on the floor of the House as what appeared to be a local bill. Local bills generally are bills before the legislature that only impact a specific city. And in most local bills, other cities don't really engage because it doesn't affect their jurisdiction. So this came to the House floor appearing as a local bill, but in reality, it had statewide impact. And the reason is because this particular bill, and it was buried inside of a larger bill, would have dechartered or removed the charter for Quitman, Georgia. Quitman, Georgia is a city in South Georgia. And they have had some issues operationally, and so there was an idea of taking away their city charter. Well, why does that matter to Fairburn? There are 52 cities that currently are a part of MEAG that supply power. Those 52 cities share the cost of that power generation. And so it's spread across those 52 cities. If you take one city out of that 52, the cost is still the same, but now you've got 51 cities, and that increases everyone's cost. And so even though the bill proposed to only affect Quitman, it would have, in fact, affected all of the 52 cities, and you've already heard the sensitivity that I'm sure you're well familiar with from our citizens about utility rates. Yeah. Those are the type of dynamics that the city does not always directly control. However, what has happened in the last 6 hours is the Speaker of the House and the governor, due to calls from legislators and city council people getting involved, have stepped in and offered a rewrite of the bill. that they did in conjunction with MEAG to make sure that however equipment ends up, whether they lose their charter and become part of a consolidated county government or whatever iteration, there is now language in the bill that would protect MEAG's bond cost and would prevent that cost from being pushed to the other cities. It is still on the House floor. It is still moving forward, but there appears to be at this juncture a solution that MEAG, as the last email received this afternoon, feels would protect what I just explained and prevent the other 51 cities from having to absorb that cost. We will continue to monitor this. We're at the stage of the legislative process in this session where it's really a day-by-day monitoring of the bills that could affect Fairburn, and we do everything we can to stay on top of those because it's not done until it's done. And sometimes on the floor of the House, something can start one way and end up another way. And so fortunately, at this juncture, we think there is an amendment to that House Bill 1567 that will prevent us from experiencing any undue cost, whatever happens with the city equipment. And by the way, I was speaking with Walter West, the gentleman here with ECG, the president of ECG. He says there were actually 3 other cities that were also in that bill that could have lost their charter. Fortunately, again, there appears to be an alternate bill that will mitigate that risk and protect.
But that being said, somebody has to pay that cost. So if it's not from us as city, it could be as residents of the state, you know, so the state has to step in. So we all are going to pay for it regardless. It just may come from a different source.
It could come from a different source. Your point is exactly right, Mayor. I think some of the language looks to place that cost on a consolidated county government. In other words, they don't escape the debt by, you know, this is all a work in progress. So whether it plays out that way is anyone's guess. But at least at this juncture, MEAG feels that the language that's been inserted by the Speaker of the House and the Governor has allayed some of their concerns.
So we will continue to monitor
Yes, ma'am.
and provide an update on that. You may continue.
Thank you, Mayor. For our February 2026 City Administrator Report, hopefully you've had a chance to see that report in its entirety in your package, but for a few highlights that I wanted to share with you. February reflects a strong and focused start to our year here in 2026. Progress across economic development, infrastructure, public safety, and community engagement. More specifically, we completed the acquisition of the historic bank building. If you're not familiar, that is the building on the opposite side of the stage and courtyard. If you're facing the stage house pieces to your right, it's the building to your left. And so the acquisition of that historic bank building was completed in February. It's a critical step towards our downtown redevelopment strategy and positions us to move from planning and aspiration to actual execution. And so you'll hear more about property acquisitions as we move forward with our partnership through an IGA with the Development Authority. Community engagement. Our communications department launched the Civic Points platform. It's now on our website, on social media. It's a new tool to connect residents and local businesses, and so we're excited about that. And as you heard earlier, when we did our presentation for our youth council, we had a very successful Black History program in the month of February. Things like that reinforce community identity and cultural recognition, and we were very grateful to the communications department and all the departments that helped with that successful program. Public safety remains strong in the city. There's ongoing interagency collaboration. We briefly touched on that with the automatic aid discussion. And continued community policing efforts. And so the police are leaning forward into community policing, and that is going on continually. In infrastructure and utilities, we have projects advancing to support long-term reliability. Example of that would be the pole item that you approved earlier in the meeting, as well as the AMI meter replacement as well. Our financial position, we collected over $12.6 million in property tax collections, and that reflects continued growth and stability in the city. And quality of life, Parks and Recreation always does an outstanding job, has delivered strong programming in the month of February for youth, seniors, and family. Planning and development, we are still focused on responsible growth and neighborhood engagement. We try as best we can to make sure that neighborhoods are always engaged whenever there's a project coming to their area so that they're aware. There's a number of ways that planning and zoning goes about doing that. And looking ahead to March, we are advancing those ongoing downtown redevelopment efforts, expanding community engagement initiatives, and preparing for a strong season of spring programming and summer programming and projects. We are continuing to try to move the city forward in a fiscally responsible way while being disciplined and moving forward with purpose. And we appreciate the support of our elected leaders as we try to serve the citizens of Fairburn to the best of our ability. With that, I'll conclude and see if there are any questions I can answer.
Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you. Before we go to council comment, we have executive session? Yes. Let's do comments, council comments, and then I'll call for a vote to go into executive session. Okay? All right, council comments, beginning with Councilman Perry.
First, all glory to God. Without him, none of this would be possible. As a combat veteran, 37 years, I'd like to make sure prayers are, you say prayers if you would, please, for all our servicemen, sailors, airmen, Marines, and civilians, wherever they may be around the globe in harm's way. So Fairburn is our community, it's our family. As we move into the warmer weather of the spring, we look forward to seeing everyone out and about the city. But due to recent developments in neighboring areas and in the news, hey, let's continue to be a village for our youth, and let's attend to uplift our kids, whether it be academic programming at school or the parks and recreation that we do here in Fairburn. The kids, they need to feel loved and valued. I believe this is the last week for amnesty for Fairburn Utilities, so I do ask that everybody make an effort to get there to take care of anything that may be outstanding. Last week, the mayor and several of us, we went to Washington, D.C. to advocate, if you would, for the passage of a couple of funding legislations on behalf of the city. I can attest to you that the council, everyone here seated, those that attended and those could not, your city staff and your mayor, Mayor Portis Jones, they are working for you to try and bring funding, grants, whatever that might be, to the city of Fairburn. And final, I'd like to do congratulations to Chief Brazillo and Chief Robinson. I believe you guys have come up on, I believe it's 20 for one, maybe 30 for the other, years of dedicated service to the community and to residents. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and continue to keep doing the outstanding work that you do. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to crisscross. Okay, Councilman Smallwood? Mayor Pro Tem Smallwood?
No comments.
No comment? All right, Councilwoman Benson?
I'll keep mine short and sweet, especially since Councilman Perry swiped a lot of what I was going to say. It's like he's in my brain. So congratulations to our chiefs. And just to touch on our youth a little bit more, one of the things that we experienced as we saw a lot of youth councils in DC, one thing that kind of hit my heart was as a lot of the youth were introducing themselves and speaking of what they represented, there were so many who said, "I'm just a." And that hurt my heart hard. And so I finally just had to stop and say, you are not just an anything. You are. You are a leader. You are not a future leader, which is what a lot of us will say a lot of times. You are our future leaders of America. You are our leaders now. We look to you, and we have put some pressures on you for the things that have been done in the past, the things that you have inherited, and the things that you will have to speak up to and speak up for that you didn't create, but you are expected to fix. And so we recognize that, we see that, and we are here for you, and we look to you. Your voice matters. Your voice is important, and your voice is just like you are. You are, you matter, and what you say is what should be. So rely on each other, share your truth, be transparent and honest at all times, ask for help when you don't have the answers, and look to your village to guide and to work with and through you. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nichols?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to my fellow council and mayor and staff and residents for being here tonight. As we close, I want to center us on what matters most, which is our community. We're experiencing growth, and that comes with responsibility to invest wisely in our infrastructure, support our local economy, and lead with transparency and integrity. I just want to encourage our residents to stay engaged. Your voice truly matters. We want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of the future of Fairburn. And I'm proud of the direction that we're heading, and I look forward to continuing this work together. So thank you and have a safe evening.
Councilwoman Hauser?
Good evening, everyone. I will continue to listen and learn. I had a wonderful time in DC learning and training. I want to say to the chiefs what I always say when I'm in your presence: God bless you and be safe. To our attorney, thank you for the work that you do for us. All the staff, I am grateful for each and every one of you. And thank you for that wonderful gift, Mayor Hattie. Thank you so much. I want to also say to all of you that came out tonight, thank you. As you see that we are moving forward and we are better together. Thank you.
Councilwoman Davis?
In the essence of time, I can agree with what everyone has said before me, but I do want to just state that I am so excited about the city of Fairburn and what we are doing collectively now and in the future, particularly the public safety complex. I mean, that's amazing for a city our size, the things that we have done. And especially, I just want to shout out for the HomeWise Quick Guide for our seniors, led by Habitat for Humanity. I think this is a great guide, and I think Reed did a wonderful job with this. So that's it for me.
Thank you. And then I will close with, again, congratulations to Living Word Ministry, Pastor O'Neill and First Lady O'Neill. What really amazed me is the fact that I didn't realize that you had been in existence for over 20-some years. So congratulations to you for that. But what amazed me more was the fact that you always held your worship services here, somewhere here in Fairburn, from renting a hotel to our youth center to wherever. And for that, I appreciate you and your vision to build the building and to be mortgage-free. I mean, who can do that in this day and age? So congratulations to you for that. I, too, want to shout out both Chiefs Bazidlo and Robinson. You are our homegrown employees, if you will. You came here in your youth, and you elevated yourself, you educated yourself, you sought out training, and you sought promotions, and look where you are now, and look what you are doing for the city. That's the example that I look to, and I hope all of our residents look to, as well as the other employees, to the extent that we can to do that. And lastly, I want to thank this council for approving the City of Civility. I will continue to look over to my right if ever I have to call on that, because we are being intentional about that. And with that said, may I have a motion to go into executive session, and what is the reason?
Litigation.
Okay, motion to go into executive session for litigation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will be going into executive session. For legal. We're ready, are we ready? Yes. Okay, I'm supposed to do a poll, right? Okay, may I have a motion to go back into regular session?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's been moved in second to return to regular session. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Oh, well, I thought somebody had cracked something.